Ah, shoot.
When I first started on this bedroom makeover, the plan was simple. Create a space I'd love living in every day. But life threw us a twist, and we are moving and turning our house into an Airbnb. So now, the vision is the same, but the projects need to be a little easier, a little faster, and just as inviting. In this room, that means focusing on furniture flips and small upgrades to make a big impact without taking weeks to finish.
Hey guys, what's up and welcome to my channel. This week I am getting back to the bedroom makeover I started before my life got a little crazy. And even though in just a few short months, this room is no longer gonna be my bedroom, I am still just as excited to tackle this makeover. And I feel like the changes I've made to the individual projects has forced me to get even more creative with these projects. And I also think these projects are now a lot more relatable. My original plan for the nightstands in this bedroom was to build them completely from scratch. But as of right now, I don't have the time to build nightstands completely from scratch. And I'm also guessing a lot of you don't have the time to build nightstands completely from scratch. But I also don't want to lose my original design. I still want this room to have the look and feel I designed out. And going out and just buying nightstands that fit that look and feel is way out of budget. So I'm gonna be doing something way more doable and way more on budget, an IKEA flip. The Rast dresser from IKEA is 50 bucks. It's solid wood, it's a simple little piece, and it's basically the perfect blank canvas to start with. So I can't wait to see the design I have in my head come to life. So with all of that being said, Clyde, you wanna go flip some IKEA with me? He's gonna run away the second the tools start going. Okay guys, here she is, the Rast dresser. Just like I said, this is the perfect blank canvas to work with. The one reason I really like this is because these components, for the most part, are all wood. It's not the most expensive wood, but it is wood, and you're not dealing with particle board, which of course is what a lot of IKEA furniture is made out of. And a lot of times when I tackle projects like this, I've got my starting point, which is right here. I've got my final design, and I've thought through all of the steps to get me from my starting point to my final design. Well, I thought in this case it would be fun to do something a little different. I have not planned out anything. Yeah, I don't know the steps that I need to do to get me from A to G, or however many steps it takes me to get to my final design. I thought this would be fun to, in real time, come up with what I need to do. I think that this also will help you, even if you don't want to tackle this project, it'll help you get an idea of things you might have to think through when designing out your own projects. The other thing is that usually when I've thought through all of the steps, I've also in my mind already troubleshot all of the things that might pop up. Whereas now you get to see in real time how I think through these things and troubleshoot problems that might arise. I don't know if anything's gonna pop up. I'm hoping that nothing does, but you just never know. I already know what my first step is though. I am gonna remove this top drawer. So my design, I wanna take this dresser from a 3-drawer dresser to a 2-drawer dresser with a shelf. Since this nightstand is now going into an Airbnb, storage isn't really something I'm concerned about. So I like the idea of having a shelf that I get to decorate. I just think that'll be real fun and real cute. Obviously, if storage is something you need, maybe skip this step. I was going back and forth on what I wanted to do for this shelf, how I wanted to create it, but I'm thinking since this top piece is already cut to the measurements I need it to be cut to, I think I'm gonna use this top piece as my shelf piece because I have a whole different plan for the top. So I am gonna get this top piece removed. I'm gonna drill some pocket holes in it and then we can get it attached. I think I'll do 3 pocket holes on every side, but I do think I have to avoid these holes that are already pre-drilled into the boards. I need to grab something to create a gap so that when I place the shelf, there's a little bit of a gap so that this drawer can open and close nicely. I have some nails for my nail gun. I'm gonna place that on top of this drawer front and then mark this out. So it's just a tiny little gap so that when I place this shelf, I know this drawer is gonna open and close. Now the question is, how am I gonna hold this board up so I can get this screwed into place? Okay, I've got to remove these drawer slides. Perfect. Okay, now I'm gonna use a carpenter square to draw out this line. Now I've got my line. I can get this shelf in place. We're gonna flip this up very nicely because it's not fully attached. I'm gonna use my level to get this attached. Make sure it's level front to back. Yay, perfect. Little bit of a gap, so this opens and closes nicely. Okay, now this dresser is 2 drawers with a shelf. What I'm gonna be making the top out of is pretty heavy, so I do wanna attach some brace pieces. And I was thinking, off the top of my head, I might be able to use the components from the drawer I'm no longer using. Check, I think they actually might be too short. Yeah, we're like 1/8 of an inch too small. So if I were to use this piece, it would pull this in. So I have to cut some 1x4s, drill some pocket holes, and get those attached so that we have some nice brace pieces. 23.5. Let's do it. Okay, I'm gonna check if my pieces work. They should, don't see why they wouldn't. That rounded edge makes it hard to know whether this is flush with the actual top. Okay, cool beans. So what I think I'm gonna do now, because I am making nightstands, so I have to basically do all of this with my second dresser. I'm gonna go rinse and repeat these first few steps, and then I'll be back. Okay guys, both nightstands are at the same step. Now for this next part, it's the part that's kind of been like throwing me for the biggest loop. What I really want to do is add a base to this dresser and attach legs to that base. But the bottom of this dresser is a little funky. It's got this little wooden piece that sits behind the drawer front, and then the gap between where the drawer ends and where the floor is, it's kind of a big gap. If I just attach a base, I just don't think that's gonna look very nice and polished. So what I think I need to do is remove this wood piece that's down here and actually trim the bottom of this dresser by like 1 inch or so. And then once I do that, I can go ahead and attach 2 more 1x4s just like I did with the top. And then once those 1x4s are attached to the bottom, I can go ahead and attach some legs. Now that is easier said than done. This dresser is put together, so it's not like I can just like run these pieces through my table saw at this point. So I'm gonna have to get creative with how to cut this down. It's gonna be fun. So I think let's remove these drawers. Actually, hold on, I need to mark out where the bottom of this drawer is. so that I know how much to cut it by. I'm gonna do the same thing, use a little spacer like I did. Okay, that's marked out. Now I can remove this. I'm gonna get this piece removed. Now let's measure how much we have to cut this board down by. I don't think we have to cut this down by much, because here's a little 1x4 piece. I want that to go there. I think we literally just have to trim off like 1/2 inch. Basically like 5/8. I think I'm gonna go grab my circular saw. I'm gonna use that with my carpenter square, and that should help me get a nice straight line and straight cut. That was a little nerve-wracking, and the second cut definitely went better than the first cut, but we got through it, and I think it looks good. I just cut a 1x4 down real quickly, stuck it down here, it's just laying flat, and then I tested out if the drawer still slides in and out nicely, and it does. So since this is good to go, I'm gonna pop this out and get some more pocket holes drilled, get these two boards attached, and then we can attach some legs. Okay guys, so I got these legs off of Amazon. They're just cheap little wooden furniture legs, but I think they're gonna add such a nice look and shape to this very basic dresser. So I have worked with these before. They have basically a little bracket, so you have to drill a hole and then stick this little metal piece in that hole, and then you'll be able to screw the leg in. So I kind of need to figure out where I want to put these legs, get some holes drilled, and then I can attach these legs. So to get these legs at a good spot, unfortunately I can't put them like out here, or I can't put them here because I've got these pocket holes. So I've got to drill this hole perfectly to go right in the center of these pocket holes so that nothing is interfering with each other. But I think right there is gonna look nice. Okay, 1 3/4 inches. Yeah, okay, so 1 3/4 inches from this side and 1 3/4 inches from the front. Here she is. Oh my goodness. There's something about adding legs that just instantly elevates this dresser. It looks so nice, especially these little bun legs. And also, I think I put the brackets for the legs on wrong originally. At first, I had them on the underside of the dresser, but then there was a gap between the leg and the wood, so I actually moved it so that the bracket's on the inside, and now the legs are flush up against these base pieces, which looks a lot nicer. So I should probably stop with this dresser and rinse and repeat with the other nightstand, but at the same time, I kind of just want to keep going with this one and see my design fully through, and then rinse and repeat with the other dresser. So what I want to do now is add trim at both the top and the bottom. A lot of times when you look at expensive furniture, you'll notice like lots of little simple details that just elevate the look and the shape of a piece of furniture. So let me take some measurements, get my trim cut down, and then I'm gonna use my pneumatic nail gun to get it all attached. See guys, I think I was right. Adding the trim to the top and bottom, it just completely changes the shape. It takes it from this like boxy, very basic nightstand, and it just elevates the look and feel of it. This next step is the final step that I can do today because I am gonna have to let it dry. And the next step is working on the drawer fronts. I knew I wanted to do something to the drawer fronts because this right here is cheap wood. It's all knotted up and I want to stain this dresser. And I knew having a bunch of knots, it was just gonna make this dresser look cheap. So I wanted to cover up those knots and cover up these drawer fronts in some way. Also, a lot of times when you look at expensive nightstands, a lot of them have some kind of decorative detail to the drawer front. So I played around with a bunch of different ideas, but I think I'm just gonna go with a look that I know I like and that I know I can do, and I can do it well because I've done it in the past, and that is fluting. But I wanted to do fluting in a different way because I've done fluting in the past and I know it can actually get kind of pricey pretty quickly depending on what trim you use. So I just got this cheap trim. It was $5 for an 8-foot long piece. I got 2 of them for each drawer front, and I cut a bunch of pieces down already. So I am just gonna take these and space these out. So they're not gonna be super condensed together like I normally do, but they're also not gonna get super spread out because again, I wanna cover up all of these knots as much as I can. Also, the other thing I'm going to do is start at the center to cover up this hole because I'm gonna take this from 1 knob to 2 knobs. So just covering up that hole will make it nice and easy. So let's get to work. So I am going to attach this trim with the drawers laying in their slots so that I can make sure that this fluting lines up perfectly for the top drawer and the bottom drawer. I also did cut these a little long so that tomorrow when everything is dry, I can sand and cut these down to fit the drawers perfectly. Okay, first 2 pieces are down. So I think what I'm gonna do is add the pieces to the edge and then I can kind of just keep filling in. Okay, so I have a trim piece right directly in the middle. I have trim pieces on the edges. So now what I think I'm gonna do is just kind of keep measuring to the middle and putting a trim piece and then measure to the next middle and just kind of keep adding trim until I can't add it anymore. I think that's the best way to go about this. Okay, I just placed my last trim piece. I ended up going for a slightly more spaced out look than what I thought I was gonna end up with, but it just ended up working out the best with this spacing, with the size of the drawers and the trim I chose. So I really like it. I think it looks really cool. I'm going to very carefully put this nightstand on the ground to let this trim dry, and then I'm gonna rinse and repeat the process I just did with this nightstand with my second nightstand and call it a day. Good morning, guys. These next 2 steps could make or break this project. So far, everything has been going fairly according to plan. I love all of the additions to this nightstand, but now I have to do 2 very daunting tasks, which is staining the body of this dresser and then working on the top of these nightstands. Typically, I am not like super afraid to stain and finish a piece. Usually, I'm very excited to do that, but the reason I am a little little nervous for this is just because I want this nightstand to have like a deep, rich look to it. And a lot of times when you look at a more expensive piece of furniture, it is made out of a nicer piece of wood, maple, oak, mahogany, birch, and mine is made out of pine. And I just really don't want this nightstand to have that piney look to it. Not that pine can't look nice, but of course, a nicer, more expensive piece of wood is gonna look a lot nicer. So I've already gone ahead and did some work to prep for stain. I took the drawers out and I trimmed back the extra piece of trim that was at the top and bottom, sanded that, and then I did a pre-stain conditioner. Again, I want this nightstand to have as deep and rich of a look as possible, so I thought a pre-stain conditioner would help. And I am also going with a gel stain. I have found that gel stain on pine can make pine look not so piney. So I'm gonna get to staining both nightstands. Once that's done, we can head outside and do the truly actual daunting task that I have for today. The stain looks so good. I am so happy with it. Now, because I went with a gel stain, I am gonna have to let that sit for a solid 24 hours before I can go ahead and do top coat, but the gel stain is totally worth it. I don't think I would have gotten the same look using a non-gel stain. And now it is time to get to the truly daunting task that I have for today, like I mentioned before. So I don't know when I came up with this idea, but I got the idea that I wanted these nightstands to have a real marble top. Yeah, so I did some research and I found out that I could get really large tile from Floor & Decor. The largest marble tile they sell is 2 feet by 4 feet. I didn't need that large of a tile, so I went with a tile that is 36 inches wide and 16 inches deep. Now, because it is that size, I do have to cut this marble, and that is the scary part. I have never cut marble a day in my life, so I don't know how this is gonna go. I really hope I don't mess it up. I have this set up to do a test cut. I'm only gonna be cutting off about 1 inch. I feel like doing a test cut is gonna be super helpful because I don't know what I'm doing. And then I have a 1x4 set up as a nice little shelf so that I get a nice clean straight line. So without further ado, let's try to cut some marble. Yeah, let's do it. So I have my circular saw and I switched out the blade for a diamond tipped blade. This is specific for cutting marble, and then I can cut some other kind of tile and stone and things like that. So let me just make sure that this is good to go. I did it! I think that went well. Okay, that cut went fairly well. I don't think I had this piece of wood set up to be as straight as it possibly could have been, so I think my cut might have been a little off. So I think I'm gonna get myself set up to do this real cut. Yay, let's do it. Also, was not wearing iPro, wear iPro. Forgot about that. 26 3/4. And I am cutting this marble so there's a little bit of an overhang. I don't want it exactly to the length and depths. That feels solid. Let's do this official real cut. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Not too bad at all. The blade really does cut very nicely and very quickly through the marble. So I am a little nervous for this
longer cut that I have to make, but I'm just gonna take it nice and slow, measure, double check that everything is straight, and let's do this thing. Ah, shoot. Guys, my first tile, it chipped at the corner, which is such a bummer. Luckily, I did go ahead and get an extra tile just in case. I was hoping I was going to return that extra tile, but I did get an extra tile just in case, since I had a feeling a mistake might happen since this is my first time cutting tile. But the mistake I made is just really take your time through the whole cut. I think I started to like rush it a little bit at the end, and that's when I got a chipped corner. So you live and you learn. It's okay, not the end of the world. But I'm gonna get through this cut again and then go grab my extra tile and get it cut. Yay, all done. Good morning, guys. Who needs expensive nightstands when you've got some power tools and a little bit of creativity? I cannot believe this is an IKEA dresser that I got for 50 bucks. It looks so good. I am so happy with the finish. And I did just go ahead and do 3 of the last 4 steps that needed to happen. I added the little back that comes with this dresser. You're supposed to put it at the top, but because I was getting rid of this top drawer, I waited to attach it, and I attached it to the bottom half. And now that that's attached, this nightstand feels even more solid than it did before. After I got that attached, I went ahead and added top coat to both nightstands. And then once the top coat was dry, I went ahead and got the marble top officially stuck down. I used a silicone, which is something you use when you attach a countertop in a bathroom or a kitchen. So I thought that would be a good option for getting this marble attached to this nightstand. And then the final thing that I have to do is get the hardware attached. And I went with these little round brushed brass knobs. These are very similar to the hardware I saw on a ton of the nightstands that I based this design off of. So I'm gonna go grab a drill, get this hardware attached, and this IKEA Rast furniture flip will be complete. And that is it for part 2. I am in love with these nightstands. I love them so much that I could even see myself redoing this furniture flip in a future apartment or house when I move. The only thing I probably would do different if I was still living here is keeping all 3 drawers. And I spent roughly about $115 per nightstand, and I think they look way more expensive than that. Yes, you could just go out and get nightstands for $115, but they're not gonna look nearly as nice as this nightstand. They're also most likely gonna be made out of particle board, whereas this is wood, and they are for sure not gonna have a real marble top. I love the marble top. I think it looks so classy and so nice, and I also know it is going to be durable, which is key for an Airbnb. And the other thing about this project is that it was so quick and easy. It was exactly the type of project I am looking for right now. The first day was definitely the longest day of this project, making all the changes, adding trim. But once I got to stain and top coat on the second and the third day, it was only a few hours of work
on each of those days, so I was able to get started on other projects that I have to do around the house, which is perfect. It's exactly the type of project I was looking for. So that is it for part 2 of this bedroom makeover. I hope you guys liked this video and project. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.